Dear viewers, this is the second part of our discussion about metaphysical poetry. In this part, we are going to discuss some important aspects of the poetry of John Donne. Of all the metaphysical poets, John Donne was the most impressive. He was born and brought up a Catholic, but later became an Anglican. His training as a Catholic in an age of religious debate helped to determine the cast of his mind. The scholastic element which he received during his education also played its part in his mental development. Donne's poetry consists of 5 satires, 20 elegies, the songs and sonnets, and 19 holy sonnets. The satires are written in deliberately rough couplets. They have a colloquial vigor of speech, combined with a strain of ingenious ratiocination. The 5th satire, like the second, is an indictment against the legal system. Judges are gods. He who made and set them so meant not that men should be forced to them to go by means of angels when supplications we send to God, to denominations, powers, cherubims, and all heaven's courts. The satires also give us some vivid glimpses of the London of the period, as well as of Donne's self-arguments about religion. For example, in his 3rd satire he says, "On a huge hill, cracked and steep, truth stands, and he that will reach her about must and about must go." The elegies are poems about love, written also in iambic pentameter couplets, dealing with the theme in a great variety of ways. Some are cynical, dealing with the paradoxes and fatuities of lust at work. To his mistress going to bed is a case in point. Full nakedness, all joys are due to thee. As souls unbodied, bodies unclothed must be, to taste whole joys. One, the autumnal, is a poem of grave compliment to an older woman, apparently of high rank, opening with the well-known lines, "No spring nor summer beauty had such grace as I have seen in one autumnal face." Some are simply exercises in wit. One, the 17th, celebrates variety in love. By our first strange and fatal interview, by all desires which thereof did ensue, by our long-starving hopes, by that remorse which my words' masculine pervasive force begot in thee, and by the memory of hers which spies and rivals threaten me, I calmly beg, thou shalt not love by ways so dangerous. Temper, O fair love, love's impetuous rage, be my true mistress still, not my feigned page. In these lines he is dissuading his wife from a rash plan to follow him abroad, disguised as his page. After this passionate appeal, he warns her of the dangers. Men of France, changeable chameleons, will quickly know thee, and no less, alas, the indifferent Italian, as we pass his warm land, well content to think the page, will haunt thee with such lust and hideous rage as Lord's fair guests were vexed. He also forbids her to share her nightmares with her nurse. O nurse, my love is slain. I saw him go, stabbed, bleed, fall, and die." He finally asks her to pray for his safe return. Augur me better chance. The songs and sonnets are, however, by far the most interesting poems. They are love poems written at different times, in different moods, and addressed to different persons. Some show the same cynical strain that is found in many of the elegies. "Go and catch a falling star, get with child a mandrake root, tell me where all past years are, or who cleft the devil's hood. Teach me to hear murmur singing, and find what wine serves to advance an honest mind, and swear nowhere lives a woman true and fair." The conclusion has a characteristic turn. "Though she were true when you met her, and last till you write your letter, yet she will be false ere I come to 2 or 3. The opening of these poems shocks the reader into attention, sometimes by a question. Now thou hast loved me one whole day. Tomorrow, when thou leavest, what wilt thou say? Wilt thou then antedate some new made vow, or say that now we are not just those persons which we were? First the shock, then the ingenious development of the thought. This is Donne's characteristic method. Donne employs the same method when he expresses his love for his dear wife and more. Here indeed is the union of passion and ratiocination, which is the hallmark of Donne's poetry. He starts the poem with a question and then develops his argument in a systematic way. I wonder, my troth, what thou and I did till we loved. Were we not weaned till then, but sucked on country players childishly, or snorted we in the seven sleepers' den? If ever any beauty I did see, which I desired and got, 'twas but a dream of thee. And now good morrow to our waking souls, which watch not one another out of fear, for love all love of other sides controls, and makes one little room and everywhere. The opening is both conversational and startling. It is followed by a complex development of thought, perhaps never paralleled by any other poet. Ideas have also been incorporated from scholastic philosophy and science. Most of Donne's love poems have memorable openings. For God's sake, hold your tongue and let me love. If yet I have not all thy love, dear, I shall never have it all, lover's infiniteness. Twice or thrice had I loved thee, before I knew thy face or name. Air and angels. Busy old fool, unruly sun, why dost thou thus, through windows and through curtains, call on us, the sun rising? There are other kinds of love poems in songs and sonnets, besides the cynical and the genuinely passionate. Some, like A Valediction of Weeping and Sweetest Love, I Do Not Go, sound a gentle note of protective tenderness. Some, such as Twickenham Garden, show a more conventional strain of exaggerated compliment, picturing the poet as the afflicted lover who is a victim of the cruelty of his beloved. These, Grayson suggested, might have been written as poems of compliment to ladies of high rank. A Nocturnal upon St. Lucy's Day presents the poet as reduced to a state of absolute nothingness by the death of the lady who is the subject of the poem. For I am every dead thing in whom love wrought new alchemy, for his art did express a quintessence from nothingness, from dull privations and lean emptiness. He ruined me, and I am rebegot of absence, darkness, death, things which are not. Others again are merely ingenuous in satiric vein. In all, the songs and sonnets are enough to substantiate Donne's claim to be considered an original poetic genius of a high order. Before we conclude our discussion, a word about Donne's religious poetry. The theme of Donne's religious poetry is the frailty and decay of this world. Other important themes are as follows: the insignificance of man, the transience of all earthly enjoyments, the incommodities of the soul in this life, and the conflict between new thought and old values. The last point finds expression in these words: a new philosophy calls all in doubt. Talking about Donne's divine poems, David Ashe says, exactly the same combination of passion and argument as is found in songs and sonnets can be found in these poems. The passion is, however, more complex. It is that mixture of hope and anguish that characterizes the religious man searching for the right relationship with God. In this regard, Leishman observes, Donne's best religious poetry is intensely personal, not an exposition of a Christian doctrine, but a passionate and dramatic prayer to be delivered from temptations and distractions, to be made single-hearted, to find in God's will His peace. Yet I dearly love you, and would be loved fain, but I am betrothed unto your enemy. Divorce me, untie or break that knot again. Take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you thrall me, never shall be free, nor ever chaste, except you ravish me. Leishman further says there was always another worldly element in Donne, but although he increasingly felt that the world was a vanity, he could never quite liberate himself from it, and in this oscillation between worldliness and otherworldliness lies the drama of his religious poetry, a poetry which transcends ecclesiastical differences. Burn off my rust and my deformity, restore thy image so much by thy grace that thou mayst know me and I'll turn my face. It implies that Donne's poetry is religious if we use the word religion in its widest sense. So his religious poetry is not restricted to a particular denomination. He is not concerned with the intricacies of doctrine, but with the subtleties of temptation which detract his attention whenever he tries to delve in his heart. What Donne asks for is purgation, purification, illumination, a directing of heart. My heart is by dissection clay, and by self-murder red. From this red earth, O Father, purge away all vicious tinctures, that new-fashioned I may rise up from death before I am dead. Thank you very much.